Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 33, Activities of Lord Kapila. We are in the first section of this chapter, text 1 to 8, where Devahūti is offering beautiful prayers to her own son, Lord Kapila Muni. So we'll just recite those two beautiful verses and then we'll continue with the purport. Okay. So here we are, text 6. Yannamadheya Shravananukirtanat
Yannamadheya Shravananukirtanat
Yat Prahurnat Yat Smaranadapi Kvachit
Yat
Yat Pravanad Yat Smaranad Api Kvachit
Vadopi Sadyah Savanaya Kalpate
Vadopi Sadhyaha Savanaya Kalpate
Uta Punaste Bhagavan Darshanat
Kuta
Kutaha Punaste Bhagavan Darshanat
Aho Badasva Pachoto Gariyan
Aho Badashwapa Chato Gariyan
Yajjimvagre Vartate Nama Tubhyam
Yajjivagre Vartate Namatubhyam
Te Pustapaste Juhusna Suraryaha
Te
Te
pustapaste
pustapaste
surarya
Juhvasasnura Arya
Brahmanuchurnam Grananti Ete.
Brahma
Brahmanuchurnam Gurunantyete.
So these are the very beautiful glorification of the holy name of the Supreme Lord. So we continue with the purport. Yeah, please continue.
The holy name has to be chanted to please the Supreme Lord and not for any sense gratification or professional purpose. If this pure mentality is there, then even though a person is born of a low family, such as a dog eaters, he is so glorious that not only he is purified himself, but he is quite competent to deliver others. He is competent to speak on the importance of the transcendental name, just as Thakur Haridas did. He was apparently born in a family of Mohammedans, but because he was chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord offenselessly, Lord Chaitanya empowered him to become the authority or Acharya of spreading the name. It did not matter that he was born in a family which was not following the Vedic rules and regulations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Prabhu accepted him as an authority because he was offenselessly chanting the name of the Lord. Authorities like Advaita Prabhu and Lord Chaitanya immediately accepted that he had already performed all kinds of austerities, studied the Vedas, and performed all sacrifices. That is automatically understood. There is a hereditary class of Brahmanas called the Smarta Brahmanas. However, who are of the opinion that even if such persons who are chanting the holy name of the Lord are accepted as purified, they still have to perform the Vedic rites or await their next birth in a family of Brahmanas so that they can perform the Vedic rituals. But actually, that is not the case. Such a man does not need to wait for the next birth to become purified. He is at once purified. It is understood that he has already performed all sorts of rites. It is the so-called Brahmanas who actually have to undergo different kinds of austerities before reaching that point of purification. There are many other Vedic performances which are not described here. All such Vedic rituals have been already performed by the chanters of the holy name. The word Juhu means that the chanters of the holy name have already performed all kinds of sacrifices. Sasnu means that they have already traveled to all the holy places of pilgrimage and taken part in purificatory activities at those places. They are called Aryaha because they have already finished all these requirements and therefore they must be among the Aryans or those who have qualified themselves to become Aryans. Aryan refers to those who are civilized, whose manners are regulated according to the Vedic rituals. Any devotee who is chanting the holy name of the Lord is the best kind of Aryan. Unless one studies the Vedas, one cannot become an Aryan. But it is automatically understood that the chanters have already studied all the Vedic literature. The specific word used here is anuchaha, which means that because they have already completed all those recommended acts, they have become qualified to be spiritual masters. The very word granati, which is used in this verse, means to be already established in the perfectional stage of ritualistic performances. If one is seated on the bench of a high court and is giving judgment on cases, it means that he has already passed all legal exams and is better than those who are engaged in the study of law or those expecting to study law in the future. In a similar way, persons who are chanting the holy name are transcendental to those who are factually performing the Vedic rituals and those who expect to be qualified. Or, in other words, those who are born in families of Brahmanas but have not yet undergone the reformatory processes and who therefore expect to study the Vedic rituals and perform the sacrifices in the future. There are many Vedic statements in different places saying that anyone who chants the holy name of the Lord becomes immediately freed from conditional life, and that anyone who hears the holy name of the Lord, even though born of a family of dog eaters, also becomes liberated from the clutches of the material entanglement. Hare Krishna.
Now there is description of glories of the holy name. So the holy name has to be chanted to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very important statement, right? And how we please? To please means to serve. And that's why the literal meaning of the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is actually a prayer to the Supreme Lord that, my dear Lord, my dear Mother Hara, oh my Lord, Father Hari, please engage me in your loving devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, the holy name has to be chanted to please the Supreme Lord. And how we please? To please means to serve. To love means to please, and to please means to serve. Right? This is the golden statement. To love means to please, and to please means to serve. So this is how practically we can show our love towards the Supreme Lord by engaging in direct devotional service. And such a service, anybody can be part of this service. There is no special qualification required to be part of service. In fact, somebody who is born of a very, very low caste, so-called low caste, or a very any lowest status of life can be engaged in devotional service. And here Srila Prabhupada gives example of Namachari Haridas Thakur. Apparently, the word apparently is very important. Apparently, he was born in the family of Mohammedans. and one can just imagine the kind of cleanliness, the kind of habits, the kind of the family members will have. But he was a very pure child, and he was engaged in chanting the holy names of the Lord, so much so that he used to chant 192 rounds every day. And that's why, on the disappearance day of Haridas Thakur, which comes to be on Ananta Chaturdashi every year. So this year it is Saturday, 6th, the coming Saturday, 6th. We have a festival which is called as World Holy Name Day Festival, where all the devotees come together that day and across the temples, and they chant as many number of rounds following in the footsteps of Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. So he was accepted as authority by great personalities like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaitacharya. See, sometimes when we hear these names, Lord Advaitacharya, Sarvo Bhattacharya, Prakashananda Saraswati, we don't understand who they are. We were discussing this last time. Recently, one of our devotee, he was doing some Nyaya kind of a seminar, from some another Sampradaya, Śrī Sampradaya, he was doing something. Okay, of course, we don't recommend devotees to do all that stuff because he is a very advanced devotee and he wanted some specific thing to refer to. But the top leader, the topmost authority in Nyaya, they are the personalities situated in Navadvip who are all disciples of Mahaprabhu. Right? So what important thing is that the name that we very, maybe carelessly take, Advaitacharya or Prakashananda Saraswati, Sarva Bhattacharya, these are like who's who in the domain of Nyaya, and in the domain of grammar, Sanskrit, Samhita, and all those things. So such a great authority as Advaitacharya accepted him on the strength of chanting the holy names of the Lord. And therefore, one's actual advancement in Krishna consciousness is measured by his liking for chanting the holy names of the Lord. Right? Prabhupada writes here, sometimes the Smartha Brahmanas, they object such position. They say that no, he's not born in the Brahmin family and he has to wait for the next life or undergo some samskara. But for a devotee, frankly, there is no need of samskara. All the devotees will perform samskaras. They will not think themselves transcendental. But tattvataha, there is absolutely no need of any samskara. Holy name is sufficient. Right? So he doesn't have to wait. He becomes at once purified, sadhya. And then Srila Prabhupada takes on one word after another and explains the meaning. Juhu means the chanter has already performed all kinds of sacrifices. So sometimes, people are very fond of doing this sacrifice, that sacrifice, and some dua in the house, and, person also feeds kuch kiya karke. One may do that once in a while, once in a year or something like that. But the most important sacrifice that we are doing every day is chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is, one should have this faith. Krishna Bhakti Kaile, Sarva Karma Krita Hai. So although there are certain processes that we may follow time to time, but that should not even slightly diminish our faith in the Supreme Lord, right? Or chanting the holy names of the Lord. He is also considered as Nashu. That means he has already traveled to all the holy places and taken bath there. Right. He has gone to Char Dham Yatra. He has gone to Badrinath, Kedarnath. All the different dhams he has already visited if one is chanting the holy names of the Lord as per Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And that's why a devotee, of course, a devotee is excited to visit the holy places where Mahaprabhu has visited. Gaura, Amara, Je Sabasthane, Brahmana Karila Range. And at the same time, the devotee is also conscious of all these purifying sthanas are present, in the chanting of the holy names of the Supreme Lord. He's called as Arya. Arya means those who are civilized and know the highest value in the life. They are called as Arya. And such a personality is called as, he has studied all the Vedic literatures. Why? Because, see, somebody studies all the Vedic literatures and misses the conclusion And somebody who is not able to study all the Vedic literature, but he follows the conclusion, what is important? There is always a gap between studying and doing, right? And that's why these days it has become such a huge problem. People, they buy courses after courses, online courses, this courses, that courses, and people think that buying courses only will make them, and there is a feeling like that. And all these online courses, the completion rate is less than 3%. Why? Because there is a gap between knowing and doing. And that's why there are so many, the classical story of these Vedic Brahmanas in Kṛṣṇa Lila, they exactly knew that the Parabrahma is standing on their doorsteps and they were afraid of Kamsa. They knew the importance of surrender, but they did not surrender. There is a gap between knowing and doing it. And therefore, the ultimate conclusion of all the Vedas is chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, one who is chanting the holy names of the Supreme Lord is actually following the ultimate conclusion of all the Vedas, Bhakti Vedanta. And therefore, he is considered as he has already studied all the Vedic literatures. Another word used here is Grananti. Grananti means he has already established in the perfectional stage of ritualistic performance. Right? Why? Because he is doing that. What? Chanting the holy names. Somebody may say, Prabhuji, chanting is yes, chanting is so important. Chanting is so sacred. And we have to treat chanting also very, very sacred. Of course, I'm speaking these things, but there are days in my life also where chanting is just becomes remains accounting, and we are like more like finishing that number 16. Every mala becomes heavy. But that should not be, the regular experience in our life. We are struggling sadhakas, we are in grihastha ashram, we have all the battles to fight day in and day out, but one must have a specific time allotted for chanting the holy names of the Lord. And if one is chanting, if one is considered to be on a very high pedestal, of course one should not think oneself like that, I am on a very high pedestal. But if one is chanting the holy names of the Lord, he is considered that he has already performed all the ritualistic sacrifices and is eligible to perform all that. Srila Prabhupada gives example here, just like somebody is sitting on the chair of, he is the Chief Justice of India, Supreme Court. That means he's already done 5th standard, 10th standard, LLB, and then barrister, and all those degrees he has already performed, right? And that's why he's sitting there. Similarly, the conclusion of everything, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, Vasudevah Sarvamiti, Samahatma Sudurlabha. When one becomes devotee of the Lord, he has actually come way ahead in his life. And and therefore we have to respect devotees, and we have to respect our own devotional service, that how much sacrifices we have done to come to this stage of chanting the holy names. And therefore, if chanting is going to take anyway 2 hours, and in fact the attentive chanting will take lesser time, one must have a very specific time for chanting. It is not that chanting is happening as a social activity. So this is very important, that he is considered to be already qualified. And Prabhupada writes here, there are many Vedic statements in different places glorifying the chanting the holy names of the Lord. That those who are chanting, they are already on a very higher pedestal of their life. Beautiful verses, and these are from Devahūti, very celebrated verses of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and they are directly from Devahūti. So third canto has many beautiful verses, right? Text 8. Tvam tvamaham brahma param pumansaham pratyakshrodasi atmani samvibhavyam swatejasadhvasta guna pravaham vande vishnum kapilam vedagarbham. Translation.
Translation: I believe, my Lord, that you are Lord Vishnu himself under the name of Kapila, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman. The saints and sages, being freed from all the disturbances of the senses and mind, meditate upon you, for by your mercy only can one become free from the clutches of the 3 modes of material nature. At the time of dissolution, all the Vedas are sustained in you only. Purport: Devahūti, the mother of Kapila, instead of prolonging her prayers, summarized that Lord Kapila was none other than Vishnu, and that since she was a woman, it was not possible for her to worship him properly simply by prayer. It was her intention that Lord be satisfied. The word pratyak is significant. In yogic practice, the 8 divisions are yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Pratyahar means to wind up the activities of the senses. The level of realization of the Supreme Lord evidenced by Devahūti is possible when one is able to withdraw the senses from material activities. When one is engaged in devotional service, there is no scope for his senses to be engaged otherwise. In such full Krishna consciousness, one can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. Hare Krishna.
Now, this is the last verse that Devavati is speaking to her own child, Kapila. Because after this, Kapila Muni is going to go for wandering everywhere, spreading the knowledge, and hardly is going to meet, his mother Devavati. Tvam tvamaham brahma parapumamsam. And then she says, Svatejasa dvasta guna pravaha. What a beautiful word line it is. Svatejasa dvasta. He can udvasta kar dega. What? Guna pravaham. The guna pravaha means Bhagavat pravaha can destroy the guna pravaha. So this is guna pravaham, the incessant flow, pravaha, incessant flow of 3 modes of material nature in which the living entity is tormented life after life. She says, my dear Lord, you are Vande Vishnum Kapilam Veda Garbham. Vande Vishnum, my dear Lord, you are Lord Vishnu himself. As Kapila, Veda Garbham, you are the repository of all the Vedas. You are the Supreme Brahman. Saints and sages, they meditate upon you, and by your mercy only, one can become free from the clutches of material nature, Dvasta Guna Pravaham. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Devahūti, realizing that now the Supreme Lord is going to soon leave her place, she is winding up her prayers, and her intention is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And Srila Prabhupada writes here, the word pratyak is very significant. This is for pratyahara. One has to shut down the material senses progressively and engage them in the service of the Supreme Lord. So the material activity will reduce as we increase our spiritual activity. Again, progressively and age appropriate. This is very important. So, but progressively, our spiritual activity should expand and material activity should be replaced. And then one naturally will take, the retired life. Retired life is not just function of some money or, bank balance. We know dozens of devotees who have X number of, money in their bank balance. They retired and, for the want of exact service, they were unable to maintain the retired life. Right. And therefore, retired life is not just function of bank balance or money in the bank. No. Just like, chanting is not function of time. Sometimes people feel, no, Prabhuji, I don't have time now. That's why I'm not chanting. Now, we know devotees who have time and somehow they have left chanting and they are unable to pick up the chanting. So, here, one has to progressively engage in the spiritual activities, and one time will come where the spiritual activities will dominate one's life, and then one is renounced. And by that time, one is supposed to be taking care of one's finances, one's other responsibilities very, very diligently. So this is how now Devahūti, she concluded her prayers. Now we come to the next section of Bhagavatam, where text 9 to 12. Here, Kapila Muni, in these 4 shlokas, is going to give the final instructions to Devahūti. And then Devahūti attains perfection, Lord Kapila wanders, and then there is a Falashruti. So we come to the second section now, text 9 to 12, final instructions to Devahūti. Text 9. Maitreya uvacha idito bhagavanevam kapilakhya parapuman vacha abviklavaya iti ahamataram matruvatsalah. Translation.
Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, satisfied by the words of his mother, towards whom he was very affectionate, replied with gravity. Purport. Since the Lord is all perfect, his exhibition of affection for his mother was also complete. After hearing the words of his mother, he most respectfully, with due gravity and good manners, replied.
So here, Maitreya, because this is Vidura Maitreya Samvad, Maitreya said, Supreme Lord Kapila, satisfied with the words of his mother. And which words? Specifically glorifying the holy names of the Lord, especially 7 and 8. Text 7 and 8. She is glorifying, 6 and 7. She is glorifying the holy names of the Supreme Lord. He was very affectionate and replied with gravity. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the Lord is all perfect and he will play every role very perfectly. And this is Vaishnava is actually very famous for. Vaishnava means he is balanced and he will play every role very perfectly. Right? This is Vaishnava, general understanding of the Vaishnava. The balanced personality doing justice to all his roles. All his roles mean somebody is mother to somebody, wife to somebody, daughter to somebody, somebody is like husband, and then one is performer, contribution to the society, donations for the society, taking care of the studies of the children, doing research, expanding one's business. So all aspects, it is not that one is just focusing on one thing and all other things are going to ditch. No. Vaishnava means balanced. And he will do perfect justice to all his roles. Here a specific word used is Matruvatsala. Very beautiful words. Right? Vacha, Viklayatva. So look at the meaning. Aviklavaya means very gravely the Lord is speaking, because now he's aware he's going to depart now, hardly going to meet his own mother. And Matruvatsalaha, very, very affectionate to his mother. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one beautiful verse is there which calls Mahaprabhu as Matru Bhakta Shiromani. Matru Bhakta Shiromani means he is the crest jewel of Matru Bhaktas, his own, the devotee of his own mother. Very affectionate to one's parents. So this is one quality of a devotee. Is very affectionate. So however they are, classic example is Prahlad Maharaj, right? So Prahlad, we all have seen the movie, read in Bhagavatam. He was tormented by father like anything. And only benediction that he is asking, this child Prahlad, is let my father be delivered. He's simply acting in the hands of the material nature, covered by the 3 modes of material nature. And this is Matruvatsalaha. The Lord is called as Matruvatsalaha or Matru Bhakta Shiromani. Text 10. Kapila Uvacha Margena Nena Mataste Susevyena Uditena Me Astitena Param Kashtam Achirat Avarotshyasi. Translation.
The personality of Godhead said, My dear mother, the path of self-realization, which I have already instructed to you, is very easy. You can execute this system without difficulty, and by following it, you shall very soon be liberated, even within your present body. Purport: Devotional service is so perfect that simply by following rules and regulations and executing them under the direction of the spiritual master, one is liberated, as it is stated herein, from the clutches of Maya, even in this body. In other yogic processes or in empiric philosophical speculation, one is never certain whether or not he is at the perfectional stage. But in the discharge of devotional service, if one has unflinching faith in the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master and follows the rules and regulations, he is sure to be liberated even within this present body. Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu has also confirmed this. Iha yasya harir dasi. Regardless of where he is situated, one whose only aim is to serve the Supreme Lord under the direction of the spiritual master is called Jivam Mukta, or one who is liberated even within his material body. Sometimes doubt arises in the minds of neophyte about whether or not the spiritual master is liberated, and sometimes neophyte are doubtful about the bodily affairs of the spiritual masters. The point of liberation, however, is not to see the bodily symptoms of the spiritual master. One has to see the spiritual symptoms of the spiritual master. Jivan Mukta means that even though one is in the material body, there are still some material necessities, since the body is material. Because one is fully situated in the service of the Lord, he should be understood to be liberated. Liberated entails being situated in one's own position. That is the definition in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Muktir Svarupena Vyavasthiti. The Svarupa or actual identity of the living entity is described by Lord Chaitanya. Jivera Svarupa hai Kṛṣṇera Nityadas. The real identity of the living entity is that he is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Lord. If someone is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord, he is to be understood as liberated. One must understand whether or not he is liberated by his activities in devotional service, not by other symptoms. Hare Krishna.
Kapila Uvacha. So we'll quickly complete in 1 minute. Kapila Muni says, "My dear mother, Mataste, the path of self-realization which I have explained to you is very easy and which you can execute without any difficulty. And even in this life, you will become liberated and you will come back to me." In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that devotional service is so perfect, so simple, and so sublime that by following the rules and regulations, one is actually becomes liberated. Liberated from guna pravaha, from clutches of maya, even while within in this body. And this is the prerogative only for the devotee. For other processes like Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, one is not sure till the end, even up to reaching the highest place. Aruya Krishnena param padam patanti adho. There is always a chance of falling down. And therefore, such a personality who is deeply having faith, unflinching faith in the words of spiritual master, right? Yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha guru. So has unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord and the words of the spiritual master, he will attain, these desired conclusions of the Vedas. Srila Prabhupada further explains the word Jivan Mukta. Who is Jivan Mukta? Jivan Mukta means the personality, the spiritual master, who is in the material body, in the material world, but completely engaged in the spiritual activities. And sometimes seeing the condition of the spiritual master, like Srila Prabhupada, when writing this purport, is very sick. And sometimes seeing the sickness of Srila Prabhupada, somebody may think, oh, whether he is liberated or is bound by his own activities. Sometimes people have these doubts, right? Sometimes the happening of Kali Yuga is such that people have this doubt whether my spiritual master is liberated or whether if he only goes away, what will happen this. So, Prabhupada, right, sometimes the doubt may arise in the minds of neophyte that whether one spiritual master is liberated or not by seeing his material activities, that he is also being admitted to the hospital, that he is also his blood sample is taken, his HbA1c is being calculated. And we can see this literally, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, such intensive care treatment is going through. Because one has the material body, Prabhupada writes here, there will be material necessities. But that doesn't mean the personality becomes material. The personality is spiritual, and by his causeless mercy, he is in the material body, guiding us in the material world, right? And therefore, the activities of the spiritual master should never be judged, and if at all to be judged, should be judged on his activities and by not other symptoms. And what are his activities? His activities are liberated activities, liberated activities of devotional service, because that is where he is situated. Muktir hitvanyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. That is liberation. What is liberation? Liberation means established in one's swarupa. And what is swarupa? Jivera swarupa hai Kṛṣṇera nityadas. And therefore, if someone is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord, he is understood to be liberated. One must understand whether he is liberated or not by his activities in devotional service and not by the bodily symptoms like how sick one is or something like that. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you,
Prabhupada, thank you,
everyone.
Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Nam Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.